right. Hello, folks. I'm calling to order this meeting of the South Kingstown Town Council. It's 7:35, Monday, April 27th, 2015. Our first order of business, as always, is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please rise and join.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk take the roll?
Council President Collins,
Here.
Councilwoman Clow,
Here.
Councilwoman McAtee,
Here.
Councilman Veely.
Here.
4 members present. Council Vice President Healy is absent.
And before we get to anything else, I'd just like to pass along that Meg sends her regrets for not being able to be here. She's been stricken with a serious illness, but she's on the mend, and she's looking forward to getting back here. She's particularly proud of all the work she put in as we've been looking at the budget, and we'll be deciding that later this evening. But she said she has full faith that we can handle it up here. So we all wish her well. Thank you. Next, I'm going to bring forward item 13A on the agenda under new business, and it's a resolution adopting a proclamation recognizing the 13th Annual Battle of the Books. And Rachel, could you take this away?
Yes, this is a resolution to adopt a proclamation recognizing the 13th Annual Battle of the Books as follows. The Battle of the Books, whereas recently the 13th Annual South Kingston 4th Grade Battle of the Books was held, concluding a year of collaboration between South Kingston's public and school librarians, along with 4th grade teachers from 7 South Kingstown schools. And whereas in the 1930s, Battle of the Books was a Chicago radio program and has evolved into a reading incentive program and competition in schools across the country. And whereas the Battle of the Books challenges students to read great literature, develop great understanding of it, and compete with others to demonstrate their knowledge. And whereas the Town Council recognizes the importance of the Battle of the Books, and wishes to acknowledge the efforts and dedication of Tina Ladika, Children's Librarian, and Brandy Fong, Children's and Youth Librarian at the Peacedale Public Library, Judy Munson, Children's Librarian at the West Kingston Free Library, the Kingston Free Library, Liz Soltiziak, Librarian for West Kingston and Matunic Schools, and Martha Badigian, Librarian for Peacedale School. Now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of South Kingston, thank the librarians and teachers who give their time and energy to the Battle of the Books and wish them well in all their future endeavors. And we are so lucky to have 2 of these librarians right here tonight. So I think we have Martha and Liz, if you'd like to come up.
Do I hear a motion in favor?
I move approval of a new business 13A, a resolution adopting the proclamation recognizing the 13th Annual Battle of the Books.
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Now we'll move to item 4 on our agenda, which is the approval of minutes of previous meetings.
I move approval of agenda item 4A and B.
Second?
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those meetings are approved unanimously. Item 5 on our agenda is the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. And that brings us to item 7 on our agenda, public hearings. Item 7A is a public hearing to adopt the town council's final budget for fiscal year 2015-2016 as amended and as shown on Exhibit 1 attached to your agendas. Steve, could you give us the 30,000-foot view?
Tonight is the final step in the adoption of the final budget by the town council. The budget is presented in Exhibit 1, and I'll walk through that with you at this time. The first page of the exhibit documents what the projected tax rate will be associated with the general fund budget of $75.7 million. It's showing at an estimated tax rate of $15.56, or 8 cents more than the current year rate of $15.48. We continue to do work on the tax roll, which will be certified on June 15th. We're continuing to see additional growth. At this point, I would estimate the 8 cents was probably in the 6 to 7 cent range at this point. I do want to mention, too, that the budget has been adjusted by about $1,400. That adjustment in the budget from the manager's proposed budget was to provide adjustments to 3 agencies. One was an increase of $400 with the Washington County Coalition for Children. Second was the Wakefield Village group with a $500 increase, and the Peacedale Neighborhood Revitalization with a $500 increase. So those were the only changes that were made to the printed budget document that was presented to the council on March 1st. The council's preliminary budget was adopted on March 16th. Moving on to page 2 of Exhibit 1, this provides with a summary first of the general fund budget. We're proposing a budget of $75.7 million, up 1.1% from the current year. I would note that the overall property tax increase is shown at 1.4%. However, based on new growth that's there, it'll actually be at about 1.3% as shown on the first page. The school budget is the second of the 8 funds that are incorporated into the municipal budget program for the 15-16 year. We're looking at a $59.13 million program, up 0.9% over the current year. However, the amount of property tax support going to the organization will be 1.4%, or close to what the overall rate is on municipal and school side. Next page presents the summary of the budget for Peacedale Office Building. I'm sorry, that's still on page 2. The Peacedale Office Building, there is no property tax that goes into this program. This is for the operation of the facility. It's in market rent operations at this point for the first and second floor and partially the third floor. We are anticipating expenses of around $98,000 with income of about $102,000. The monies that are excess in revenue stay with the Peacedale Office Building and are used for capital improvements and upkeep of that building. Neighborhood Guild, we're looking at a budget up 0.08%. Again, no property tax supports. About 50% of the overall Neighborhood Guild programs are paid for through trust funds. Next is the Senior Services Fund. We're looking at a budget of $784,274, which is a reduction of about 2.6% over the current year program. The next 3 funds that are shown are the water, wastewater, and solid waste funds. I can go through detail on those. I think that the final page of the budget document, again, no property tax supports go to any of those utility funds other than a direct contribution to the wastewater fund for managing non-wastewater related activities. for septic system maintenance. The last item on the page shows the summary of the 8 funds and shows an overall budget of $91.18 million. This is an increase of $810,000 collectively from the 8 funds over the current year, or about a 0.9% increase. I would note for the council that there are also 2 resolutions that are not directly associated with the appropriation of the budget, but rather provides future direction on movement of money out of the capital improvement program into various capital reserve funds and special revenue funds. Those resolutions will be considered at a later date prior to the start of the fiscal year. I'll be glad to answer any questions or comments that council may have relative to the budget or from the general public.
Are there any questions or comments from the council? Right, at this time.
I do have some
sorry.
comments. I was allowing people to go before me. My position hasn't changed since the preliminary budget hearing. I was in favor of level funding, and I respect that others see it differently, and that's fine. A couple of the things that I have an issue with, one is with declining enrollment in the school, we're still increasing spending. So I did a little bit of research. It's a little hard to find this stuff. I won't take a lot of time here, but the best time frame I could find where I could compare enrollment to full-time positions was 06-07 through 11-12, when enrollment was down 10.25%, and full-time staff was decreased by 12.25%. So staff has certainly taken the brunt of the reduction. Administrators were up 2.3%, and I'm sure some programs were. The $1 million transfer in the fund balance, I've been crystal clear about that. If we don't need it to keep a good bond rating, we should reduce our tax burden with it. And then there's been discussion publicly about how the economy is improving, so we can afford to spend a little more. A week and a half ago in the Providence Journal was an article where there were 1,640 foreclosures in Rhode Island in 2014. About 6.5 a day per business day. I don't agree that the economy is improving. So as a result, I really am in favor of level funding. I understand that this is the budget that's presented. Again, my position hasn't changed since the preliminary hearing. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. Rachel, did you have some? Carol?
I'm just going to say that, Steve, I think you put together a great budget, you and Trish, and I'm thankful that you kept the bottom line in line, so we didn't overspend or overtax. In response to Joe's comments, we did have lengthy discussions with the school committee. I think that in the future, we are looking at, redistricting or reconfiguring the school district in some way. Maybe that will help us realize some savings down the road. But I think, as always, Steve, you kept the taxes down as much as possible in light of contracts, and that, once again, I thank you for a good budget, and I think the town will be pleased with the tax bills that you get, and or nobody's ever pleased with the tax bill, but it's just a slight increase.
Yes, at this time, unless there's any other comments from the council, we'll take comments from the public. Please stand at the podium, say your name and where you're from. And anybody, but you are the one who's holding your hand up. Okay.
Well, I just want to make a comment that I haven't made a comment in a long time. Anyway, I came tonight, maybe I'll say something else public forum.
Mr.
But
Traeger,
seeing you're talking about education,
Mr. Traeger, can you say your name for the,
Bob Traeger, owner of Skipstock in Narragansett, probably the only thing I can say, an ex-school teacher, ex-guidance counselor, ex-skier, the snow's all gone. Anyway, education. We all know that education's in big trouble in the United States of America. I hope we all understand that. But in South Kingstown, I would like to say that I have, I think, 4 grandchildren right now attending from elementary through the senior high school, and I think they're getting a great education. And I think we're lucky to have this kind of a town that can provide that kind of education. But as I've said before in front of the council, that we're not alone in this world. We're not an isolated group in South County. I worked most of the day today, but I did pick up on the news when I went home. You know, we have all kinds of tragedies going on in the world every day. Some of them we have created ourselves. But the ones that are recently, the one in Nepal, and I mean, thousands and thousands of people have been killed. I'm going to leave it at that. I just wanted to, I get carried away, you know that. I'd like to talk more about that, but generally, education, South Kingstown, you can't do enough, and we got to learn, even though we are doing a great job, to do a better job, because there's a lot more to it than just learning physics and chemistry. There's a lot to education. And I've been talking to a couple of my grandchildren that are older now, they're in the high school, and I'm very impressed with what they come out with and how smart they are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
is there anybody else who would like to speak from the public?
I have to agree with Mr. Traeger. I think education is very important, and it's money well spent. And we can look at dollars and cents and how to save in a building or electricity, but we can't hold back on what we spend on kids' education. And it's their ticket to the future. And if they do well, we as a community have done our job. So we have to always, you know, education's expensive, but it's money well spent.
Any other comments from the council? Well, I do want to congratulate Steve for presenting us with a very fiscally prudent and solid budget. I think we went through a long and studious overview of the budget. It was great working with the school committee as we went through that process. I attended the last school committee meeting, and I saw that they're acting on some of the suggestions that we made as we met with them. So I'm looking forward, as we go to next year's budget, which probably shouldn't look forward to this soon, but I think we'll have some things to act on from that. And so thank you all for bearing with us as we've gone through it all. This time, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second it. It's off.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
I move that the town council accept the final budget for fiscal year 2015 through 2016 as amended and as shown on Exhibit 1.
I second.
I think we have a,
I think that there's going to be a need for 2 resolutions, since Joe has to recuse himself on any appropriation with the South County Chamber of Commerce, Southern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce. So I would suggest, if you're looking to adopt the budget in accord with the preliminary budget that you adopted in March, the following resolution would be appropriate at this time. A motion is made and seconded to adopt the town council's final budget for the for fiscal 15-16 as presented on the agenda as Exhibit 1, exclusive of the appropriation for the Southern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $9,000, total budget of $75,694,006.
So moved.
Second?
I second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
A.
By vote of 3 to 1.
Now,
That
what I would
carries.
suggest as a motion would be to amend the just adopted 2015-16 Town Council final budget by increasing by the amount of $9,000 from $75,694,006 to $75,703,006 for the specific purpose of funding the Southern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce.
So moved.
Yes.
I second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And by a count of 3 to 0 with 1 recusal, that budget carries.
The final budget as adopted and amended is $75,703,006.
And that brings us to a public... No, no. Another librarian has joined us in the crowd. Could you come forward and receive your resolution?
Rachel, say your name.
I know. Is it Brandy? The Brandy? No, not Brandy. You can do Brandy. What'd you call her? Oh, you're Tina. I wasn't sure. It's Tina Ladika.
Miss Tina, just call her Miss Tina. All right, with that, we'll go to item 7B, which is a public hearing relative to proposed amendments to the Town Code, Chapter 4, Boats and Waterways Ordinance, Article 2, Harbor Master, Section 436, designation of moorings in South Kingstown tidal waters, as shown on Exhibit 2 attached to your agenda. Barry, would you come forward? Or Steve, do you want to?
Let me just start out. The ordinance amendments before you are principally to address a new software system which will allow for maintenance, a web-based harbor management program. This will provide greater transparency as far as the moorings in town, as well as the licensing and the renewal of moorings. It'll also set new fees into place. We've needed to change the methodology used in maintaining the database for the moorings. It'll now go so that with the new software, it'll be web-based, and the public will be able to review who holds the moorings, who's on a waiting list, and we'll have all of that information that will be published. The new software will require a transaction fee for each mooring application of $5 and each waiting list application at $5. One of the other concerns that we've had has been persons who hold moorings not paying on a timely basis for those moorings. Obviously, the fees should be collected within the 30-day period of the time that the renewals are issued. The recommendation will be to establish a penalty fee, which will be that for any license renewal that has not been paid prior to June 30th of any year, the fee would be $50. June 1. So we will be issuing the renewal application through the clerk's office, asking for the payments during this week. they'll have through June 1 to pay without any penalty. From June 1 through June 30th, there'll be a $50 late fee. Subsequent to July 1, it'll be a $100 fee. That way, we would hope to be able to have all the collections done. One of the problems with late payments is we're not sure whether the mooring's being used, and if it's not being used, it should be available for somebody else's use. We're not recommending any changes in the fee structure. Our current structure is $8 a foot for no less than 15 feet requirement. So, and we're collecting about $26,000 a year in mooring fees. We're not looking to change that. It's $12 a foot for those persons that have moorings in South Kingstown waters, in the mooring basins that are from, that are not residents of South Kingstown or taxpayers of South Kingstown. So there's no changes with that. With that as an introduction, I'll let the harbor master explain any other changes that are in the ordinance.
Thanks, Steve. Some of the other changes that are in the ordinance are basically just housekeeping issues. Main one being if we discover unnumbered or unlicensed moorings. It's always been difficult in the past we don't have a formal process for notifying the owners. We've established a process in the ordinance to tag the mooring with an official tag with a date on it that it was tagged, and notifying the owner that within 14 days they need to make contact with the harbor master so that the mooring can be properly licensed. And if that doesn't happen within the 14-day period, then the mooring will be removed at the owner's expense.
Barry, can I just ask you on that?
Yes.
Couldn't you, wouldn't that mooring be eligible for someone else on the waiting list, or you have to, because
No,
the mooring itself is owned by the boater?
Correct. The ordinance and the harbor management plan, which is dictated by CRMC, establishes specific mooring fields in the town, and those are closely regulated by us. There are additional mooring availabilities for property owners in the town who can have a mooring within reasonable proximity to their property, but it still has to be licensed and paid for and recorded through the town. Periodically, we end up with a few that have just been put out there off of property or things like that, which are not in a mooring area. And our issue is being able to identify the property owner and or receiving the appropriate licensing for it or removing it. So this just gives us the facility to do that under the ordinance.
So if someone abandons a mooring, it's basically gone. We don't have, we can't like put that mooring somewhere else, or it's...
No, moorings in the town, under the harbor management plan and under authority from the state, the town just licenses the spot in the water. The mooring holder is responsible for his tackle, the physical mushroom anchor,
Yep.
chain, and ball. That's theirs, that's their property. Okay. Therefore, we collect a licensing fee, a mooring fee, because under the state general law and common law, all the waters of the state belong to all of the individuals in the state. So when we establish a mooring field, we're actually restricting the usage of that area to the rest of the residents of the state. So the state has authorized us to collect a fee for maintenance and overview of the licensing of that.
Thank you.
One of the other things I think is important here is that the reason that we license moorings is because we want to ensure that they're proper in design. We gave you a copy of the entire ordinance, which is about 14 pages long. Within the ordinance itself, and there's no changes that are being recommended, defines what is a mooring, what the weight has to be, what the type of linkage is that's necessary on the chain, floats. And the reason that we're interested in that is that we need to ensure that the safety of those boats that are moored, particularly during heavy weather, that it's not going to break, a boat's not going to break away or destroy another boat or create property damage. So from a public safety perspective, maintenance of the mooring field is very important to us to ensure, one, that the swing distance is proper from, for the moorings itself, and that the inspections are done regularly as required by ordinance to ensure that each of those moorings meets the specifications within the mooring ordinance. So it's a public safety function. You know, some folks think that we've got a mooring field and we license the moorings as a means of paying for the harbor management program. That's not the case. We're administering the program, but ensuring public health and safety based on ensuring the quality of the mooring materials and that they meet spec.
A couple of other minor changes. There was a typo when it was originally done, and we've increased the mooring fields, although we haven't. Like I said, it's just a typographical change to include all the mooring fields A through I instead of A through G. There's 2 small mooring fields over in Green Hill Pond that are H and I, and they've been there from the beginning, but in reviewing the ordinance, we just picked up on it and said, "Oop, we should make that housekeeping change." We haven't really increased the number of mooring fields. All the mooring fields have been reviewed and approved by CRMC last year when they reviewed our harbor management plan. One other small housekeeping issue is the section where it says that shall not be held by more than one person, individual, or association. It's in generally reviewing other harbor management plans and everything, this has always been an issue in speaking with the other harbor masters, where sometimes you have 2 people's names on a vessel or whatever, or people share ownership of vessel, not in the same family, and then they get into a contest of, well, he's selling his share to me or to someone else, and it becomes a nightmare. So we've sort of said, whoever has the boat registered in their name, one individual, one corporation, whichever.
Are there any questions for Barry? Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any,
I just had one.
Oh,
On this waiting list, Barry.
Yes.
If you can't create new mooring spaces or license new moorings, how do you get, why would you get on a waiting list?
You have people that get out of boating, you have people that move away, that you have vacancies, decide they no longer want to maintain a mooring or things like that. We also have authorization in coordination with the Waterfront Committee to increase the number of moorings in a specific authorized mooring field, depending on the size of the vessels, the swing, as the town manager said, and public safety. So there is the ability out there to periodically increase. I think last year we increased one of the small mooring fields in Potter's Pond by 4 moorings, because that's all 15 or 16-foot power boats over there, and there was enough room to do it.
Oh.
But it has to be done in coordination with the Waterfront Committee, so that it's not one individual as myself, the harbor master, going out there and going, okay, we're gonna keep increasing or whatever. It has full overview of the Waterfront Committee.
Thank you.
any questions or comments on this, council? At this time, we'll take comments on the proposed amendments to the Boats and Waterways Ordinance from the public. Is there anybody who wants to speak from the public? Okay.
Abel, before you close the public hearing, you did discuss your desire to change the late fees to $50 for June 1st and $100 for July 1. Those fees you're going to actually adopt in a resolution later in the meeting. However, there will be a further amendment necessary to the language that you're about to adopt. So I bring your attention to Section 2D, and that's on page 14 of the exhibit, the attachments that are listed, that are attached to the agenda. It would be 14, Section D. And the language I would recommend would state as follows: any annual renewal of a mooring permit, if granted, shall be assessed a late fee as determined by town council resolution if the re-registration form is not filed with the town clerk on or before July 1 and July 1st of the respective year. So that would be the change I'd make, and then later in the meeting, you'll actually adopt what those numbers are.
The reason we're asking you to do that is that we've attempted over the past several years to take fees out of the ordinances themselves and have those adopted by the council once a year by resolution form, rather than having to amend the ordinance each time we're going to deal with the schedule of fees for the community. So this would be another step to move that out of the ordinance language itself.
So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
So moved. All in-
Second. My mic wasn't on.
I heard you. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Well,
Aye.
Aye.
do we need that language here first? What
No,
Mike
not
just
to
talked about,
close it.
not here?
After the...
Okay. Aye.
Okay.
Next week.
So the public hearing is closed, and now,
You could make a motion to adopt public hearing item 7B as amended. And then Dale will have all the language that I read to you during the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously, 4-0. That brings us to item 8 on our agenda, communications. Item 8A is a resolutions adopted April 14th, 2015 by the South Kingstown School Committee asking the General Assembly to modify the fair funding formula in support of House Bill H. 5436, the Education Equity and Property Tax Relief Act, in support of House Bill H. 5435, relative to group home aid, and in support of House Bill H. 5434, relative to state aid for school construction and maintenance that have been received and placed on file. What is our will?
We discussed these resolutions from the South Kingstown School Committee at the work session, and I move that in regard to the resolution of the South Kingstown School Committee petitioning the General Assembly to modify the fair funding formula to adequately fund districts facing charter school expansion, and to place a moratorium on that expansion. After discussion, we decided that we would support this resolution without the final paragraph and the statement in the heading which says, "and to place a moratorium on that expansion," and the language at the last paragraph of the "now wherefore be it resolved that," additionally, the South Kingstown School Department requests that the General Assembly place a moratorium on expanding enrollment in charter schools while the General Assembly works to eliminate said adverse impact, holding harmless all students presently attending those schools. We would like that paragraph removed from the second page. And with that removed, I make a motion that we support this resolution as
Second.
amended.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That resolution is passed unanimously.
The second resolution is the resolution of the South Kingstown School Committee, Education Equity and Property Tax Relief Act relating to a Bill H. 5436. I move that we support this resolution by the South Kingstown School Committee as written.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously as well, 4-0.
The third resolution is a resolution of the South Kingstown School Committee as it pertains to group home aid and House Bill 5435. I move that we support this resolution as written.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
And then the fourth resolution by the South Kingstown School Committee promoting enhanced state aid for school construction and maintenance. I move that we support this resolution minus the language of the 10th whereas, or the last whereas, which says a systematic school building construction program will boost the local economy and the state economy by providing well-paying jobs and training opportunities. With that language taken out, we have discussed this, and I move that we support this resolution
Second.
as amended.
So moved. Any further discussion on this resolution? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that carries unanimously as well, 4-0. And that brings us to item 8C, resolutions adopted April 13th, 2015 by the Charlestown Town Council in opposition to the governor's proposed new statewide property surtax on non-owner occupied homes valued over $1 million, and in support of House Bill H5594 and Senate Bill S0741 proposing amendments to the Municipal Streetlight Investment Act. They've been received and placed on file.
We also discussed this at the work session. We'll take these one by one. The first one is that the Charlestown Town Council is asking us to oppose the governor's proposed new statewide property surtax on non-owner occupied homes valued over at $1 million. This is known to most of us as the Taylor Swift bill. I move that we join Charleston Town Council in opposition to the governor's proposed property surtax on non-owner occupied homes valued at over $1 million.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion on this? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
The second bill, the second resolution by the Charlestown Town Council is a resolution in support of House Bill 5594 and Senate Bill 0741, which pertains to Municipal Streetlight Investment Act. I move that we join Charlestown in their support of these bills as written.
I second.
So moved. Any discussion on this one?
I think I need more information on the streetlight bill.
This was legislation that amends a bill that was passed 2 years ago.
I'm back.
And allows, just for the benefit of people
Yes.
here, it allows for municipalities to purchase the streetlights from National Grid and maintain them. This amendment would make it so that the towns could also purchase the rights to put meters on top of those streetlights if they choose to purchase them. So I think this would be another benefit. Otherwise, National Grid would
My mistake.
charge us. All right. All in, was it, we had a second there? Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that motion, or that resolution carries unanimously. Item D is a resolution adopted April 8th, 2015 by the Bristol Town Council in opposition to House Bill H5847, an act relating to waters and navigation, harbor and harbor lines. It's received and placed on file.
Well, I move that we join the Bristol Town Council in opposing this bill, and that I'd also like to note that our Waterfront Commission voted unanimously to oppose this legislation for the following reasons. It places excessive financial burden on boat owners, particularly those with smaller vessels. It creates redundancy in terms of establishing a new state-funded position for patrolling coastal waters, which are already covered under existing municipal harbor management plans. So with the recommendation of our Waterfront Commission and my knowledge of the bill and the discussion at this table, I would say we're all in favor. I would move that we join Bristol Town Council in the opposition to this bill.
Second.
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That resolution carries unanimously as well. Item E is a communication dated April 15th, 2015, from Governor Gina M. Raimondo concerning components of her proposed FY 2016 state budget and seeking municipal support for her jobs plan. It's been received and placed on file. What do we want to do with this one?
I'd like to make a motion to place this communication on file. I think we need to see more details in the future.
Second.
So moved. Further discussion on this one?
I'd just like to say, on its face, it's difficult not to support the governor's job plan, but the devil is always in the detail. I do think we need more details on how the letter is very
Vague.
very vague.
Yeah.
And we do need more information, but I'd be happy to review it and support any jobs plan that could work for Rhode Island.
Any further comments from the council? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 And that will be placed on file. Item 9 is comments from interested citizens. If there's anybody out there in the public who wants to come forward, please step up to the podium, say your name into the microphone, and tell us where you're from.
Hi. I'm Rose Russo from North Kingstown and from the Yoga School of South County. We spoke 2 weeks ago at the town council meeting. Richard spoke about our situation. And I just want to thank you for letting us speak again. And thank you for your responses to my email. And I want to thank Rachel for coming and taking the tour. So I just want to try to make 3 points, and I want to try to be brief. And the first point in really the crux of our issue is that at the space that we're at today, we used our own resources, our time and our money, our goods and our connections, in other words, friends, family, yoga students and their families, over the course of time to improve and increase the value of the property and space where the yoga school is located at the ground floor of the Peacedale office building. Our initial and most significant project was an extensive renovation of the back area into an office space for our use. There was a lot that went into this project. And permits for the project were issued by the town prior to us starting, and on completion of the project, a certificate of occupancy was issued. And we embarked on the project, and so did our friends and our family and our yoga students and their families, because of an agreement made with the town representative of the space at the time, namely Andy Nada. After completion of the office, we invested in more improvements to the space, again based on reassurances made regarding our long-term use of the space. We'd like it to be known that our investments to the space did not come from our excess, but it rather came from our making the most of our very modest means. You could say we used our life savings to make the improvements we did, and you could certainly say that we made sacrifices. Again, this was done over time, and it was done happily because we believed we were enhancing and beautifying a space not only for us to teach yoga, but for the community and its future generations to enjoy and to count on. Removing us from the space, as the Recreation Department intends to do, harms us in 2 significant ways. First, it takes from us all that we and our friends and family, students and their families, have invested in the space over time. And second, it places a new burden on us of having to move with all the cost, energy, upset that goes with moving. And we would also incur costs for needing to remove signs, our yoga school signs off the building, and for the storage of our furnishings and equipment, as nothing else has been offered to that end. We see that in removing us from this present space, the town is unjustly enriched, and we see that it is much to our detriment. A second point is just in March of 2010, after 2 years in the space and after our office was completed, and when our program was just starting to grow, we were flooded, and we lost a lot. We lost personal property, we lost things of great value to us, we lost some business, we lost momentum, and a lot of energy was adapting to those losses. It took nearly 6 months for the space to be restored. We were very pleased with the restorations and happy and grateful to be included in some of the choices. But at the same time, when we reopened our door, the possibility of reflooding was still there. Certain safeguards had been talked about and had been looked into, but nothing new was in place that would protect us from reflooding. Again, this was the second flood to the space within 5 years. And so the point here is that after being flooded as we were and returning to the space with no tangible safeguards in place, there remained for us a certain underlying stress that impacted us in our program on many levels and in ways impossible to measure. The period after the flood, we often found ourselves keeping an eye on the place. It seemed the heavy rains always seemed to come on Sundays or in the middle of the night. And there seemed to be sort of a unspoken and sometimes spoken understanding that we would check on things there after regular business hours if need be. And again, we did this, and we did not mind investing our time and our energy this way because we believed it was all part of the betterment of the space and that we could enjoy long-term there. And the last point is just when we were invited to the space in 2008, after having been at the Guild for 9 years, we were not bursting out of the room there. Our classes were small, our classes were never full, but what we were a quality program, and we had been consistent over the years and dependable. And that's what we brought to the new space. It wasn't because we were bursting at the seams that they put us in the new space. So just quality, consistency, and dependability, and that's what we brought to the Peacedale office building. And I think from some of the emails that you have received, and also a survey about our program was done last year, and it was all very positive, so there doesn't seem to be any question about the quality of the program. Just seems inconvenient to keep us there. So again, I would just put this forth to kind of keep it open as an issue for us, and we invite more of you to come and see and hopefully help us with some resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, could you speak as to what's going on with this situation here with the yoga studio? Because I agree the quality of the program has never been in question. It's just, maybe Steve can explain.
Yeah. Let's start out by saying that the town has enjoyed an excellent relationship with the yoga program. However, there is no lease in place for the property that they have used since 2008. There's 2,000 square feet of a building on the basement level that has been allowed to be used as a yoga studio. At this point, the recreation Department and Recreation Commission have found that there's other uses that are placing larger demands for programs, particularly in the arts area, more specifically pottery. And we've got waiting lists for people to use that program. That program is generating far more revenue than the yoga program is. And what the program is intended on doing is we've provided an opportunity for the yoga program to be relocated to another space within the Guild or to the third floor of Peacedale office building. Rose has said that she does not wish to move. Well, unfortunately, there is no lease. There was no requirement or a request or an instruction by the Recreation Department for them to make any physical improvements. It's also foreign to me on why the town would allow for a business office to be located in a space that's not under lease for any purpose, particularly when the person enjoying use of that office is not even under contract with us as an independent contractor. I'm sorry that we have to move that program, but the program needs to be moved to better reflect what the needs are of the community in terms of programs that are being offered through the Neighborhood Guild at the Peacedale office building. We have indicated back in November of 2013 in direct discussions with Rose that there would be a need to expand the number of programs actively using that floor space, because over the course of about a 2-year period, the town only generated about $14,000 in income. If we leased that space out at $1.60 a square foot, we'd be generating $38,000 a year in income. If they wanted to rent that type of a space, if we were making it available, I'm not sure that that would be an allowable activity, economically feasible for them. We're not looking to do that. We have needs for the recreation programs. The Guild has traditionally offered programs that the public wants and signs up for. When there's a greater activity that's coming in a given area, we have to expand that space and availability. We can't continue to encumber 2,000 square feet of usable space for one specific activity, which is yoga classes. In 2013, we asked them to expand the program opportunities to other like programs that could enjoy that space. They came up with no suggestions. In 2014, in November, we told them again that the budget was being prepared and that they were going to need to relocate either within the Guild or third floor of PDOB. They again took no action, and we've recently seen them come to the council and express concern. They were posted on the agenda for the Recreation Commission at the Rec Commission's last meeting. The Rec Commission continued to endorse the actions of the Recreation Department in the redistribution of space. I'm sorry that they feel that they've been wronged by the community. However, quite respectfully, I'm not sure why they had exclusive use of that space when they were nothing other than an independent contractor working for the town, where the fees that were collected, 60% were held by them and 40% were provided to the recreation program to offset the cost of operating those facilities. Again, I can go into greater detail if necessary, but at this point, at the end of May, there will be no additional yoga classes being offered because they have not requested a continuation of the independent contractor contract with the town. The summer brochure is out. The yoga program is not included in that because they did not sign up to continue that program. It's a loss for them. It's a loss for the town as well. We were hopeful that they would allow for the relocation and continue to be active participants in our program. That didn't come to fruition, and I think that's how we got to where we are tonight. Again, I fully support the decisions of the Recreation Commission in them allocating space for specific purposes. As soon as this week, we will be in that space and beginning to make the electrical changes that are necessary to be able to accommodate the new program. I'd answer any questions council may have.
Steve, on the last time they were here, we referred them to the Recreation Committee. Do you know what happened at that meeting?
Can I interrupt for 1 second? Since now we have more than the manager
Oh.
speaking, you can continue to discuss this. I just need a formal vote, a motion, Carol, to add this to the agenda for discussion purposes, because we keep on discussing it now. It's never been on the agenda.
All right, I move we place this matter on the agenda.
I second.
We won't be able to make any type of decision.
No, but you can discuss it.
Right,
For discussion purposes.
yes.
Right, it's been moved and seconded.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we've added that to the agenda.
What you said that they were on the agenda for the last Recreation Committee meeting. Do you know what,
My understanding is they did not attend the meeting.
they didn't attend?
They did not attend. The Recreation Commission reviewed the matter with staff and continued to provide full support for the relocation of the Excellence in Art program to that space.
Yeah, it's certainly a difficult situation because I understand, this is Rose's passion. However, I think the rec department has an obligation to address and allocate space to the programs for best usage. It is a public town building, and you've had use of that space for solely your yoga studio for so long that I can see that there is an ownership that you've taken on to that space, but the fact remains it belongs to the town, and the rec department has an obligation to bring in whatever program is generating the most revenue. We as a council have an obligation to support that. I sympathize, but that's where it stands.
Mike, it's appropriate for members of the committee. Yeah, please come forward, and we'll get back to the public comments. And
As far as the meeting with the Recreation Commission, it was not mentioned to us at the last meeting. It wasn't brought up. We were not informed that we were on the agenda. I'm not
We
sure.
would not knowingly not attend if we
Yeah,
if
we would
knew.
have been there. We didn't get that information at the town council meeting or in any, there was no communication as far as that. We would have definitely been there.
Is there
I did, but it was after their meeting. It was not before the meeting. I emailed them, and I think one of the members said at the next meeting, which would be in May. That would be the meeting. It was after the April meeting. Right. There wasn't. I wasn't told of a meeting that I should have been to. I would have been there.
As of the end of May, you do not have any use of that facility.
I was told that it was the end of June.
July 1st?
Yeah.
We were told July 1st.
I understand that. And also the comment about November 13th being asked to bring in other programs. I agreed to do that, and I have done my best to bring in other like programs into the space. We've had Reiki workshops, we've had a woman doing Inner Journey, I've tried to get other yoga teachers, but again, I haven't just brought in any Joe Schmo off the street. I've tried to bring in quality people that I know and trust. And it doesn't, it doesn't happen quickly, but we have, since last year, tried to bring in other programs to, deal with the situation. So we've brought in workshops, and we have done other things besides yoga throughout our history. We've had dances of peace, we've had yoga dances, we've had sacred writing, we've had mandala, we've had meditation from different schools. So we have tried to bring in other things, and recently have tried to bring in more, but we've tried to bring in things that are respectful of the space and kind of work with the energy we've created.
Can I ask, are you both subcontractors there or just Rose?
Originally, it was Richard.
And then I
then
relinquished it to her.
So you're not, Richard isn't at all
I help
associated?
out and advise, and I'm
he started the program.
started the program.
But he's no longer a subcontractor?
No,
and-
now I'm the
And
individual.
originally, I was
2
the only
years.
contractor, and she was under my contract,
Okay.
as would any other teacher or anyone else that came into our program.
Right.
We just had that one program.
And the other comment, when we were invited to this space, the agreement, the understanding that we had with Andy that to have our program there, we would need to be in charge, because we are affiliated with the Yoga Alliance, which certifies yoga schools, and at that point, we were, needing to be in a space where it was just yoga. We had actually been looking at other spaces, even though we weren't, bursting out of the place we were at, to maintain our certification as a yoga school. We needed to be in a place that wasn't shared, and we had been looking at other venues at that time.
Right.
And we might have put our resources into those venues. And so the office was part of the agreement with Andy. And why we were allowed to do it, I don't know. Yes, it doesn't make sense, but the point is we were allowed to, and we did invest our time and energy. And it was an agreement, I mean, the town had the authority to say, no, this shouldn't be done, but it was done. And now we're at a point where what is being offered to us is not suitable. It's a very small room with not even room for mats and blocks. It wouldn't make sense for us to try to move
You
into
all
that
were at the
space.
Guild, though. You started at the Guild, so it started in a room.
Yeah,
Yes. And then we became a school nationally certified, and we were looking for an expansion and having a designated space. And we made this known that we would, and Andy approached us and offered us the space. And the space was not 2,000 square feet at the time. It was just the dance studio. The back space became an additional space after we had the permit that the town would have spent $30,000 or $40,000 to turn into an available space, which we incurred that expense, 100%, the demolition. And we're listed on the permit as staff who did the permit. The electrical work, everything that was done was toward that space and expanding that space. The office alone is 24 feet long and 12 feet wide. And that's the space that this town wants to come in and do electrical work. And they're not acknowledging, and we've tried to tell them, that when we took down the existing wall, they do not know that now. But that space took 10 months of monies and everything. And that's just money that we could have put into another space. But we were told, and we were giving this. We knew that we didn't own it. We were giving it to the town. Those signs that are drilled into the side of I never had any intention of ever taking those signs off the building. You as a town had a yoga school, a sacred space, a beautiful space, that we lovingly, we just put the gardens outside. My sister passed away March 5th. The tree that's planted outside, she spent $300 for. That's in the garden outside. That was given for the future. And that's our situation. I mean, we've been in this situation, and we've been told by numerous people that the town has benefited unduly to our detriment. That's just basic. And that's all we're asking. If you don't want to continue the agreement that was put out by Andy Notter representing the town, compensate us so that we can move and go on.
Or offer us a space that makes sense. What we're being offered is, it doesn't...
It doesn't meet our needs, and it can't.
No, it's, you know.
Well, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, it
Yes.
certainly belongs before the recreation.
That's not...
Why don't we do this?
That's not true.
Excuse
That's
me.
actually not true. The town approved. It was through the yoga program, but everything went through Kathy. All programs
all
went through-
programs.
went through Kathy, were
Excuse
approved
me.
by Kathy.
I'd like to say something. I think we need to refer you to the rec committee.
Yes.
And Terry Murphy's here. You guys can talk to her, make sure you're on the agenda for the next meeting. And I think that's where we begin with this. And
Okay.
so we really need to, like, get to the bottom of it, see if there's a space that would be suitable for you guys, if this one isn't going to work anymore, or whatever. But, I mean, you really need to take it up with the rec commission first, and then, then we, if it has to come back, it comes back. But I think that you could probably work something out.
Yeah. I just figured we'd come here because it was the next meeting and time is running out.
Well, that's why we
Yeah.
have these committees,
Right.
because quite honestly, they keep track of, the Recreation Committee handles everything that's going on with Terry Murphy's department and, the Guild and the Peacedale office building. So I think you have to start with them, and then we'll go from there. Because you may be able to work it out at that level, and,
Right, yep.
That's the hope, anyway.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't take that advice, because I didn't, well, it didn't pertain to us, in my life. I mean, you're saying we go to the rec commission. Well, we've dealt with the town for 17 years, and I've never met with the rec commission. This is programming that's been...
Well, when you talk about Andy Nada back when, he was in charge of Parks and Recreation.
Right.
I mean, so you were dealing with them. Now we have Terry Murphy in that position.
Right.
Yeah, I think at this point, we probably have reached an impasse here tonight.
Right.
And I think, the next step is meeting with the rec commission. I look forward to coming and checking the space. I'm sorry
Thank
that I've
you.
never been there before. I think despite whatever happens with the space going forward, the community owes you some gratitude for the programming that you've offered
Thank you.
up to this point. I think it's a great service. So hopefully we can find a resolution that works for everybody. I know Terry's committed to listening, and the whole rec commission. So thank you for coming forward again with your
Right.
concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. So we'll go back to comments from interested citizens.
I don't know if Carol's reading my mind or not, but I mean, I've said before, I come to these meetings, I don't have an agenda. I bring the pad to make it look good, but I don't really have anything on my mind about exactly what I'm going to say when I get here. I come because I feel that it's an important thing for people to do once in a while. I have been very disillusioned in recent months with not the South Kingstown situation. I haven't met you people. I haven't been able to get in front of this group for quite a while. Sometimes by choice. I just don't know whether it's worth it anymore. I don't want to come up and sit at a meeting and contribute. But I mean, what happened just now is the reason I come. Because I feel that I just heard some things that bothered me about this situation, and I'm not taking a position in the situation, but I heard some things that bothered me, and I'm going to see if I can verbalize it. One of them is that, well, gee, if the town can make more money, and I know the town's a corporation, but I have a sour feeling about corporations because I think they're being catered to by the whole government. You know, it's like corporations. Now, the town, I'd like to cater to the town. But if the town's only concern is, well, we can use the space, we can get another $50,000 out of this, or another $10,000, or another $5, whatever the reason is, it's money. I heard money in this conversation, and I didn't like it. I don't like it because I don't know these. I've been wanting to take yoga for 10 years. If I did, I'd probably be 10. Are they still here? Oh, they left. Well, okay, that's just as well, probably. But the point is...
I can't let that stand. We did not say that we were vacating the space.
Okay, I want it to be clarified.
Let me clarify it.
Yeah.
What we said is that there are other programs where there's a demand for the program for people to have. What the Guild needs to do is to provide the programs that people want to take and to be able to get their education, whether it's in pottery, whether it's in yoga. What we have is a waiting list for people in the arts program that we can't service unless we open up that space. It's not so much the money. If it was the money, we would have changed the operation going back several years ago.
Well, I picked up on the money. I'm glad you would say that. I hope that somebody would not be removed that's been doing something for as many years as it sounded like this program has been going on. I don't 100% agree with your reasoning on it, but I understand what you're saying. I personally don't agree with it.
I think
everything revolves around the almighty dollar in this country. It's unfortunate.
I think with them, it was the exclusivity of the space. You know,
Okay, I'm not going to belabor this. I'm glad I've come before you. I'm glad I've seen you working. I've said before, no matter what, you decided to run. You're sitting up there dealing with it, whatever it happens to be. And the decisions are not easy. They're not always easy. I would say this is not an easy one. And you're referring the people to a committee, but you're really the, I've almost given up on Narragansett now, but I try to go to their meetings, but I can't stomach it too much. I have to leave. I have to walk out. That's how bad that is. You have a town manager here. The town manager does his job. You listen to him. If you don't like what he says, you tell him. But at least you have a town manager. Okay? And I respect that. That is the avenue that I believe the democracy has to work through. You're overseeing somebody that has the expertise to do a good job. That's what I believe it should be like. Now, what do I believe we see all over the world and the country? Boy, oh boy, it's not like that. Even though the president was just fooling around at that, what do you call it, journalism conference or whatever it was that he was at there, you know, but he just said when two people can whip out, you know, $2 billion to our politicians all over the country, I mean, let's get real. I mean, who's running what and for what reason? And the bills and the lobbyists, I mean, this country, I know, I listen to Washington Journal when I get a chance in the morning before I go out and do my daily routine or whatever I'm going to do. I catch the, it's from 7 to 10 o'clock, but I don't get it to 10 o'clock. But there's a lot of commentary is the beginning of the program. You listen to people all over the country on specific subjects. And it's amazing the diversity in this country on issues. It's mind-boggling. Some of the issues that the diversity exists in. I'm going to leave. I'll stop now. Except I don't know if you caught what's going on in Baltimore. Did anybody see it on the news today? A little bit. Do you see what's going on? I mean, this is the United States of America. I just finished reading the Ken Follett's trilogy. I've got a few more pages in his last book. There were 1,000 pages a shot. It's a 100-year kind of make-believe but real history from World War I to almost the present time. I mean, the stuff that goes on, guys. I mean, we have to do more than just run our little town. We have to, these resolutions that I hear, I don't know much about them, but I'm glad you explained them a little bit, because I'd like to see resolutions from the town. I want to see resolutions. I'd like to hear what you're thinking about and what you feel the direction of our country should be. And believe me, our bubble is shrinking over here. We got some serious problems. I don't care how well we say the economy is getting. It's not that good for a lot of people. It's very, very good for very, very few. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I may come back. I hope you don't mind me spouting off. Got to do it some way, you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you again, Mr.
We
Traeger.
enjoy having you here, Mr. Traeger, always.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public at this time? All right, with that, we'll move to, or comments from the council? The town manager's report.
I've got nothing further to add than the reports that you've received. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer it.
Thank you.
I have nothing to add either.
Wonderful. I don't believe we have any appointments to make tonight. That brings us to, let's see, 13E, which is the resolution associated with our public hearing tonight on the
You got B first?
boarding. Or what?
D.
B,
I missed B. Sorry about that. Oh. Item B is a resolution appointing Peter Ruggiero, Esquire, as special legal counsel to represent the Zoning Board of Review, sitting as the Planning Board of Appeals, in connection with an appeal of the Planning Board's decision regarding the Larchwood Inn property.
Motion to approve agenda item 13B.
Second?
So moved. Is there any discussion on this point? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Unanimously, Peter Ruggiero has been appointed. Now to item 13E, a resolution adopting the following fees in accordance with the Town Code, Chapter 4, Boats and Waterways Ordinance, Article 2, Harbor Master, Section 436, Designation of Moorings in South Kingstown Tidal Waters, and amending the town schedule of fees. And there are some amendments that we've made. Could you?
I think 1 and 2 would stay the same, but number 3 would state a late fee of $50 for all application renewals for existing licensed moorings not submitted by June 1st of each respective year, and $100 for applications filed by July 1st of each respective year. That's where we pick up the 50 and the 100 as you requested. With that change, 1, 2, and 3 is ready to be voted on.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 13E as amended.
Second?
So moved. Any further discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that carries unanimously. And it brings us to item F, a resolution authorizing the termination of contract between South Kingstown Adult Day Services and Lindley Food Services of Bridgeport, Connecticut, with 30 days written notice as of April 30th, 2015, and a contract end date of May 30th, 2015, and is further described in a memorandum from the Leisure Services Director to the Town Manager dated April 13th, 2015, and entitled Catering Services Adult Day Services Program.
I'll address both F and G. We're looking to give the 30-day notice to stop services with Lindley. G is the resolution that would give authorization for us to set the new contract for the meals at the Adult Day Services program with the vendor that is doing the work for us at the Senior Center, Encore Catering. So you may want to consider F and G as one item.
I move approval of new business item F and G.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion on this point? Seemed like it's better service for a lower price. Is that what I got, basically?
It is. It's the quality of the food. We think with Encore has been excellent at the for the nutrition program. We'd like to bring that to the Adult Day Services program as well.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, items F and G are approved unanimously. Item H is a resolution authorizing an award of contract to Penn Valley Pump Company, 998 Easton Road, Warrington, Pennsylvania, for 2 double-disc sludge pumps, spare parts, and training in an amount not to exceed $35,575, including freight, and is further described in a memorandum from the Public Services Director to the Town Manager dated April 21st, 2015, and entitled Primary Pump Replacement.
Something to look forward to on Friday is you'll see the 2 that have been replaced and the 2 that we're going to replace. As John mentioned, there's 4 primary sludge pumps. 2 of them have been replaced. We need to replace the other 2. The recommendation is for sole source, since we won't need to do repiping, and we'll do the installations with in-house personnel.
And these are the original pumps that were
Right back to the probably 1976 they went in.
I move approval of new business item H.
Second.
so moved. All in favor?
Aye.
That carries unanimously as well. Item I is a resolution authorizing an award of contract to Minnesota Life, 400 Robert Street North, St. Paul, Minnesota, for a 3-year term life and accidental death and dismemberment contract for a period July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2018, at the rate of 14 cents per thousand per person per month for all municipal employees, and at the rate of $1.36 per thousand per person per month for all retirees, and as further described in a memorandum from the Financial Controller to the Town Manager dated April 21st, 2015, and entitled Term Life Insurance Contract Award Recommendation.
Minnesota is the vendor of record. The fees that they've offered are reduced. In addition to this, we've included new service requirements for them to better manage as children reach the age of 18 or 24 if they're in college to be able to be removed from the program. So we see this as a major improvement.
I hear a motion.
I move approval of new business item I.
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Item J is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Central Dodge, 191 New State Highway, Raynham, Mass., for 2 Dodge Charger V8 police package vehicles and 2 2014 Dodge Charger V8 police administrative package vehicles in an amount not to exceed $104,189, including trade-in allowance and equipment transfer installation, and is further described in a memorandum from the police chief to the town manager dated April 22nd, 2015, and entitled Bid Recommendation, Police Vehicles.
As noted with the chief's recommendation, we're awarding to lowest qualified bidders. There's items J and K are both acquisitions on public safety vehicles, as well as the administrative sedans, 2 marked police cars. The K is for 2 utility police pack vehicles. Those would be used by the shift commanders. We also need those more during inclement weather. They serve as well to make sure we can get to all areas of the community. So items J and K, I'd recommend approval as presented on the agenda this evening in accord with the chief's recommendation.
I move approval of new business item J and K.
Second.
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That J and K carry unanimously as well, and that brings us to the end of our agenda tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.